2008 financial crisis. The pandemic era, wars, explosions of inflation. Throughout history, after every major crisis, two things happened. One group of people became poorer. The other built some of the greatest fortunes in history. But why? Why do we panic over grocery prices when a crisis hits? While some people are buying companies during the exact same period, why are some people losing their jobs, while others are doubling their wealth? And most importantly, are rich people really smarter than us, or do they simply know the rules of the game? Because the truth is this, crises do not affect everyone equally. In fact, for some people, a crisis is not a disaster. It's an opportunity. Today, I'm going to tell you one of the most disturbing truths about the economy. The real winners of a crisis. And by the end of this video, you'll realize something. The difference between the people who lose money and the people who make money in this system is usually not working harder. It's knowing the rules before everyone else. Welcome to Economic History, the place where the untold truths about money, power, and economic history and how they shape our world today are revealed. First, we need to understand something. What is a crisis? It's not just an economic downturn like they describe on television. A crisis is actually a massive transfer of wealth. Money doesn't disappear. It simply changes hands. And this is where most people miss the point. Because during a crisis, the middle class panics. The rich prepare. Look, what does the average person do during a crisis? They cut spending. They stop investing. They become afraid of taking risks. They try to hold on to cash because their mind switches into survival mode. But major investors do the exact opposite because they understand this. Buy when people are fearful, sell when people are greedy. And that's why the greatest fortunes are built during times of crisis. Think about the 2008 crisis. Millions of people lost their homes. But do you know what the big investment funds did during the same period? They bought those collapsing properties. While people were struggling to pay off debt, others were building the fortunes of the future. The exact same thing happened during the pandemic. While small businesses were shutting down, the world's largest corporations experienced the biggest growth in their history. Because crises wipe out small players and expand the territory of the big ones. So why are the rich less affected by crises? The first reason, they own assets. Poor people live on salaries. Rich people live on assets. And that difference is enormous. When a salary stops, life stops. But assets keep working even during a crisis. They generate rent. They generate stock returns. They generate business income. They generate interest. The system keeps making money for them even while they sleep. The second reason is even more important, early access to information. Big investors don't learn about the market from television. They have economists, they have advisors, they have connections, which means they start preparing before the crisis becomes visible to the public. By the time we see the news, some people have already taken their positions. And the third reason, the most critical one, liquidity. In other words, cash. When everyone is selling during a crisis, people with cash are buying. Because prices collapse, companies become cheap, houses become cheap, land becomes cheap. Panic pushes assets below their real value, and this is exactly where great fortunes are created. Now I'm going to say something harsh. The system actually rewards calm people, because most people act emotionally during a crisis. They panic, they run, they sell, but big money does not move with emotion. It moves with data. That's why some investors are smiling while everyone else is crying. Pay attention to this. The people waiting in grocery store lines during a crisis are not the same people buying companies during a crisis. Because one side is trying to survive the day, the other side is buying the future. At this point, some people think So you have to be born rich to become wealthy. No. But you do need to understand the system. Because crises are like an X-ray machine for the economy. They reveal who is truly strong. They expose people living on debt. They expose people holding cash. They expose the ones who panic and the ones who are prepared. And the most disturbing part is this. Before a crisis, the middle class is usually distracted by consumption. A bigger phone, a more expensive car, a larger loan. While the rich prepare their defense before the crisis even arrives. They increase cash reserves. They reduce debt. They wait for cheap opportunities. So while one side focuses on appearances, the other focuses on the system. That's why some people come out of every crisis even stronger. Because they decided what they would do in a crisis, long before the crisis began. Now we've reached a very important point. You don't need to be a millionaire to become a winner during a crisis. But you do need to understand these three things. 1. If you rely only on a salary, the system makes you fragile. 2. The panicking crowd is usually late. 3. Real opportunities appear when everyone else is afraid. And maybe the most important question is this. When the next crisis comes, which side will you be on? The side that panics or the side that is prepared? Because history has shown us this. Crises do not change the world. They simply remove the masks. They reveal who was truly strong all along. And maybe that's why the rich don't lose like everyone else. Because they don't start thinking when the crisis begins. They prepare for it years in advance. If you want future videos about how the rich hide their money, why the middle class keeps getting poorer, and how wealth transfer really works, make sure to mention it in the comments, like the video, and subscribe to the channel.